This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
According to the International Criminal Tribunal for the former Yugoslavia at The Hague, the former Serbian leader, Radovan Karadžić, will stand trial on Sunday.
The tribunal prosecutor, Serge Brammertz, said that the arrest of Karadzic is a major achievement in terms of Serbia's cooperation with the UN War Crimes Tribunal.
من العاصمة الصربية بلغراد مرورا بمدينة روتردام الهولندية.
The flight of former Serbian leader Radovan Karadžić began in the Serbian capital of Belgrade, passing through the Dutch city of Rotterdam and ended at the UN detention center near The Hague. The helicopter that was used to transport Karadzic landed at the detention center. The tribunal officials announced they have received Karadzic, thus ending a 13-year-old search for the most wanted individual. Karadzic faces two charges of genocide. The first was committed during the siege of the Serbian capital of Sarajevo, which lasted for 43 months, during which 11,000 people were killed by shelling, sniping, malnutrition, and diseases. The second count of genocide was committed in Srebrenica in July 1995, when close to 8,000 Bosnian Muslims were killed in what was described as the ugliest crime in Europe since the Second World War. The tribunal prosecutor, Serge Brammertz, said the arrest of Karadzic is a major achievement in terms of Serbia's cooperation with the UN War Crimes Tribunal.
Radovan Karadžić will stand trial for crimes committed in Bosnia and Herzegovina in the early 1990s. He has been indicted for the most serious crimes under international law: genocide, crimes against humanity, and war crimes. The charges against him include the ethnic cleansing of non-Serbs in large areas of Bosnia and Herzegovina.
During Karadzic's first appearance before the tribunal, the full indictment will be read aloud to him, and he will be asked whether he acknowledges or denies the charges.
The tribunal prosecutor Serge Brammertz praised the cooperation of the Serbian authorities in the arrest of the former Serbian leader Radovan Karadžić.
Brammertz expressed his hope that this cooperation will also lead to the arrest of former Bosnian Serb military commander Ratko Mladic, and said that he will soon visit Belgrade for that purpose.
This arrest is a major achievement.
The arrest of the former Bosnian Serb leader is a major achievement in terms of Serbia's cooperation with the UN War Crimes Tribunal. I must mention the special unit of the National Security Council forces and my colleagues in the District Attorney's Office in Belgrade. I look forward to meeting the Serbian authorities in Belgrade in the coming weeks. I hope that this cooperation will lead to the arrest of the two other defendants who remain at large, Ratko Mladic and Goran Hadžić.
Therefore, I have decided that I will not run in the Kadima movement primaries, nor do I intend to intervene in the elections, which I actually initiated and I will accept any result of. I did not make this decision out of bitterness. I've told only a little bit of what is in my heart. When a new candidate is elected, I will resign from the office of Prime Minister, so the new party chairman can put together a new government.
He took the right step for his personal standing. He made this announcement with a lot of bitterness in his voice, but he knows that he has to leave office.
Dan Margalit, is this the end of the Olmert era?
Yes, this is the end. He should have done this 3 months ago. He explained what he was told to do 3 months ago. Fight for your justice and resign.
Now we will have a reaction from the Knesset. Minister Edry.
The Prime Minister did the right thing at the right time. This is the end of a chapter.
As the fourth round of indirect peace talks between Israel and Syria ended in Turkey today, Likud Knesset member Yisrael Katz came out with startling revelations that were swiftly denied by the Prime Minister's office. Katz charged that a close associate of Prime Minister Ehud Olmert told him that Syrian President Bashar al-Assad has agreed to begin direct talks with Israel and to discuss cutting its ties with Iran, Hezbollah, and Hamas, on condition that Israel agree in advance to give up control of the Golan Heights. The Prime Minister's office issued a statement denying that any such pledge was made. Foreign Minister Tzipi Livni has also voiced concern that the Prime Minister would give up too much Israeli territory without proper compensation.
There is a momentum. It's good, to find out really if Syrian intentions are serious. Hopefully, yes. Doesn't mean that we have now to put on the table all the details of or the items or issues of the negotiations.
This is the last target of the Zionist process, to come to the peace with Syria, with Lebanon, with all our neighbors. So if the price is to give up and to release the Golan Heights, I think it's a very good price.
في قطاع غزة امتحانات جديدة تنتظر التهدئة هناك.
In the Gaza Strip, the cooling off period is being tested again.
في القطاع متوترا رغم شراء حماس في إطلاق.
Although Hamas has released a large number of Fatah members who were being detained following the explosion last Friday, the situation in Gaza is still tense. Zuhair Salah reports from Gaza.
3 days after the beach explosion, calm has returned to the Palestinian streets of Gaza. Hamas had accused Fatah of being responsible for the explosion and has launched a wide-scale arrest and interrogation campaign against the Fatah movement. The results of these interrogations were not announced, but most of those who were arrested were released.
We prefer that these kinds of arrests do not take place. We must always try to use the language of dialogue.
All Palestinian factions must reach a consensus.
The political and security tensions between Fatah and Hamas forced different political parties to demonstrate in the streets of Gaza. The protesters condemned the explosion at the beach. Meanwhile, similar tensions took place in the West Bank, where security forces arrested dozens of Hamas members in reciprocation of what happened in Gaza. This leaves the Palestinians confused between dealing with the reckless policies of the occupation and trying to unite the divided brothers.
We feel that these measures are very dangerous because they deepen the state of division, which we are trying to end. Everyone must stop taking these kinds of measures against one another. This would enable us to provide a positive environment to resume national dialogue, God willing.
Facts on the ground show that the Palestinians will stay in limbo as long as no hands are extended to them to get them out of this bottleneck.
The people want to rest. They want a peace of mind. If Hamas and Fatah reach an agreement, all of us will be relieved.
They are competing against one another. Everyone is going after their own narrow interests.
Calls for unity are many, last of which came from Cairo, urging the two Palestinian factions to resume dialogue. The Palestinians are hoping that the divisions will end. Every time Palestinian citizens regroup, they are weakened once again by the divisions between their factions. Of course, this paves the way for the occupation to achieve its own goals. Zuhair Saqallah, Dubai Television, Gaza.
إلى موضوع آخر فما زال 45 parliament members and ministers are still detained in the prisons of the occupation. They are being punished for being democratically elected in a transparent election. In the framework of our ongoing coverage of this issue, today we shed light on the life of kidnapped parliament member Naif al-Rajoub.
Palestinian parliament members and ministers were kidnapped by the occupation authorities, setting a dangerous precedent. These kidnappings did not generate any international attention. Naif Mahmoud Mohammed Rajoub, the minister of the Institution of Waqf, a charitable Islamic trust in the elected Palestinian government, was born in 1958 in Dura area in Hebron in the occupied West Bank. The kidnapped minister had been detained in the prisons of the occupation for more than 2 years. He is a politician and a religious leader. Al-Rajoub, who has a long history of education, was well known for his reforms.
He attended elementary, middle, and high school in Dura. Then he went to the University of Jordan and received a bachelor's degree in Islamic law. He then became the imam of the Great Mosque in Dura and participated in many events and gave many speeches. Later, he obtained a master's degree from Hebron University.
The kidnapped minister was imprisoned many times. The first time was in 1989 for 1 year. He was then detained on many occasions.
He was detained in 2005 for 8 months. After he was released from prison, he ran in the parliamentary elections and won the largest number of votes in the West Bank. He was arrested again in 2006, along with many other ministers and parliament members, and he has been in Ramleh Detention Center since then.
The life of the kidnapped prisoner is full of sacrifices. He lectured at the University of Jerusalem, and he was active in a number of charity and humanitarian organizations. He was elected as a parliament member in the Legislative Council, representing the residents of Hebron after winning approximately 60,000 votes. He was appointed as the minister of the Institution of Waqf before being kidnapped by the occupation forces during the cruel arrest campaign that was launched against the Palestinian parliament members and ministers.
His condition in the Ramleh Detention Center is deteriorating. He suffers from a lack of medical attention. The weather in Ramleh where he is being held is very hot and humid. He suffers from kidney problems, and now he has kidney stones. Of course, he suffers from a lack of medical attention. He only has painkillers.
The imprisonment of Palestinian parliament members and ministers violates all legal and humanitarian laws. What adds insult to injury is the international and Arab silence, which shows that the Palestinians are victims of double standards.
السيد سميح المعيطة الباحث في الشؤون
Mr. Sami Ma'ita, a researcher on Israeli affairs, is our guest in the episode of Eye on Israel. Mr. Sami, who came from Jordan, welcome to the show. In the latest episode of Military Creativity, the Israeli soldiers accused of firing at handcuffed and blindfolded Palestinian resistance detainees were hailed as heroes. Opening fire under the given circumstances indicates that they have the upper hand in this war. The following report was originally broadcasted by the Israeli Channel 10.
This is a closed military zone. Take the cameras out of here. You can't be here. Leave the area. Go back where you came from. Don't take pictures of me.
Now we all saw the video clip of the shooting. We can understand the given circumstances. However, in the absence of the camera, the army would have closed the file. Today, the news of the shooting of the handcuffed Palestinian detainee has come from the upper windows of a Palestinian home.
This was an isolated and grave incident which contradicts the value of the army. The army will conduct an investigation to the incident and learn from it, and prosecute those responsible.
The Israeli army deployed in the West Bank was notified of the incident nearly 2 weeks ago. However, the army failed to notify the police and the military prosecutor. Not until the B'Tselem human rights group showed a video clip of the shooting that the military police started the investigation, and with it, a war of words started. During the investigation, the Israeli soldier involved in the shooting said that the commander of the brigade ordered him 3 times to open fire, and then he pulled the trigger. Parallel to that, the commander of the brigade denied issuing the order and claimed that he had asked the soldier to make a threatening move with this weapon for fear. However, the soldier misunderstood and opened fire. Now, a war of words broke out between the soldier and the commander of the brigade. However, everyone in the army is agreeing on one thing: the intimidation of detainees, even for fear, is illegal.
If the incident took place, there will be an investigation and you will get all the answers from the army.
The commander of the brigade in which the Israeli kidnapped soldier Gilad Shalit has served is a tank lieutenant who was distinguished in Lebanon 2 years ago. Nearly a half year ago, he started to face violent protests over the separation wall. According to his colleagues, it's possible that something went wrong with him. Regardless, the commander told some close colleagues that he was entirely responsible for the incident, and despite this, he's still free while the soldier is in detention. The slogan of the brigade responsible for the shooting is a victory in each confrontation, and certainly not a confrontation like this one.
Why did the Israeli army start acting in this manner? Acting on their own as individuals, so to speak. The Public Committee Against Torture in Israel, which is an Israeli-based committee, cited in the past 3 years more than 400 indictments of Israeli soldiers committing atrocities against Palestinians. This is a huge number, and what was leaked to the media is only a small portion. Why does the Israeli army stoop to this low level of moral bankruptcy?
First, the Israeli army lacks the moral infrastructure. Therefore, the Israeli soldiers are not held accountable for their mistakes. Second, there has always been a policy of justification inside the army. Look at the number of crimes committed by the army or the massacres committed by the settlers. You'll find that all of these crimes were justified. Even the burning of Al-Aqsa Mosque was justified. The army has always tried to justify these crimes either by reason of insanity or lack of mental capacity, or by holding informal hearings.
According to a spokesman for the Iraqi Defense Ministry, 35 terrorists were arrested today in Diyala province. This comes under Operation Omens of Prosperity, which is carried out by the Iraqi forces backed by the United States Army to pursue Al-Qaeda members and outlaws.
Military units from the Iraqi police and the Iraqi army have imposed their presence in the city of Baquba and other areas of the troubled Diyala province, northeast of Baghdad. Backed by the U.S. Army, Operation Omens of Prosperity is aimed at pursuing al-Qaeda members and other armed individuals. The Iraqi forces deployed a large military force of more than 30,000 members of the police and the army. They surrounded the province and controlled the exits before carrying out raids and search operations in most areas of Diyala. The primary focus of this operation is Baquba, the center of the province, especially in the northern and eastern parts of the city. According to the Iraqi forces, the operation is running normally, with no clashes or major security problems with the armed men. As the operation progressed, it was announced that dozens of wanted individuals were arrested. Large caches of weapons were discovered. They contained guns and explosive devices, as well as booby trap equipment.
Iraqi and coalition forces are undeterred in our mission to
relentlessly pursue terrorists. Our combined operations have achieved advancement in imposing security in Basra, Baghdad, Mosul, Amara, and now Diyala.
Large units of Iraqi forces headed to the town of Beladrus, northeast of Baquba. They searched for al-Qaeda members and extremist groups. Operation Omens of Prosperity came 1 year after Operation Penetrating Arrow, which seems to not have achieved its aim of imposing security in the province. The province often witnessed assaults, including suicide attacks, which targeted civilians, security forces, and members of the Sahwa councils.
Joining us from Diyala province is Al Arabiya correspondent Faris Al-Mahdawi. Faris, how is this operation proceeding so far?
لا تزال عملية بشائر الخير في يومها الثاني تسير بشكل طبيعي.
Operation Omens of Prosperity is still in its second day. It is progressing normally without interruptions.
شوكة أحمد مدير إعلام القوات البرية والذي ذكر لنا بأن القوات العراقية برفقتها قوات ووحدات.
A while ago, we received information from the Colonel Shakwat Ahmad, the spokesman for the infantry. He said that the Iraqi forces are accompanied by units from the civil service police. They are carrying out search campaigns in the cities of Mandili and Belarus and nearby villages. They were able to confiscate large numbers of weapons and artillery. They also arrested several wanted individuals. The Iraqi military forces are carrying out operations in Miqdadiya city, west of Bakuba. According to the colonel, the eastern section of Bakuba is controlled by the civil police, while the western side is controlled by the Iraqi military forces.
في حين يقع القسم الغربي تحت سيطرة قوات الجيش العراقي. هذه القوات أيضا قامت بحملات تفتيش.
These forces have also carried out raids and search campaigns in Miqdadiya city, which often witness many clashes and violence.
How many days will this operation continue, Faris?
So far, the security forces have not given us an indication to the length of these operations. The governor of Diyala, who is accompanying me now, said that these operations have no specified time limit. The operation will end when the law is established in the area. With us is the governor of Diyala, Lawyer Rad Hamid Mullah Jawad. He will tell us about what is taking place in Diyala. Hello, Your Excellency.
Welcome.
What is happening on this second day of the operation in Diyala?
In the name of God the Merciful, the people of Diyala, all of them, no exceptions, welcome to Operation Omens of Prosperity with overwhelming joy. They want this operation to rid them of the state of terrorism which has imposed itself on Diyala for months, or rather years, causing major suffering.
Who is targeted by this operation?
It targets all the outlaws, terrorists, gangs, and all armed groups who do not operate in line with or under the command of the authorities. So everyone who is an outlaw is targeted in this operation.
You're watching Al Jazeera. Let's return to our breaking news story this hour. Turkey's top court has ruled not to close down the country's ruling AK party, or AK party, for Islamic activities. The party had faced a ban. The chief judge on Wednesday said it would impose financial sanctions, though, instead. Secularists had accused the AK party of trying to steer Turkey into Islamic rule, something it strongly denies. Well, for more on this, joining me now from London is Fadi Hakura, Turkey expert at Chatham House. Thanks very much for joining us. Some are calling it a victory for Turkish democracy. What's your take?
Constitutional Court. I think a month ago the likelihood was that the party would be closed down, but this time around I think, considering the reactions of the international financial markets, public opinion, and especially the opinion of the European Union and Washington, I think that may have had some impact in trying for the court to issue a very strong, stern warning to the government not to pursue the road of reform and avoid any more policies that could smack of religion.
How is this going to impact, then, the government's agenda? Let's not forget, before this whole issue came up, they were working on constitutional reform, on lifting the ban on headscarves in the universities, allowing women who wear the headscarf the same rights as those who don't. How is that agenda going to be shaped by this strong warning?
Well, it very much depends on what lessons the party, the AKP or Justice and Development Party, take from this case. If they continue pursuing what the previous agenda, which was more religion, less reform, then the crisis could erupt again, and next time around, rather than a warning, the party could be closed down. So it very much depends on what lessons they take, whether they understand the warning from this case, and try to bring a reformist agenda forward, like they did during their first term in government when they pursued a very vigorous reformist agenda.
Who would be left? Are there any arenas left now for the secularists to take this struggle to a higher level? I mean, some would argue that in the past the army's been used against parties that secularists didn't like. That option has gone. The presidency is apparently out of their hands right now. The courts, in a sense, were they the last venue for this battle to be raged in?
It would seem so. Even if the party was banned this time around, it was seen as the last time that such an event could take place in Turkey. Essentially, Turkey is changing. It's becoming much more a pluralistic society. And so any kind of military intervention is now more and more frowned upon amongst the Turkish public. Plus, Turkey now is much more exposed to international financial markets, international economic conditions. There's the European Union accession process, plus also Turkey's regional engagement in the Middle East. So it's now becoming far more difficult for any kind of military intervention into Turkish politics.
Is this simply about religion, or is this part of the decades, some would say hundreds of years old struggle between those of the Anatolian heartland and those Turks with a slightly different take on life from the western side of the country?
I would probably phrase it slightly differently. I think what erupted was that you had two powerful groups, both the secularists and the ruling government party, trying to take control of the state. And then in the background also there were some disagreements on religious issues and ideological issues. The only way forward for Turkey to avoid any kind of re-eruption of this crisis is for more democracy, more human rights, a new constitution, and so forth. If the government resorts back to a more religious agenda and less reform, then this crisis could easily erupt again. But next time around, it's less likely to be a warning and more likely to be a ban.
All right, Fadi Hakura from Chatham House, good to get your thoughts on that.
Hello, I'm Lana, one of the producers of Mosaic, World News from the Middle East. We are interrupting to ask for your support. We trust that you recognize the importance of Mosaic, but understand that we can take the risks we do because we are viewer-supported. Remember, before there was Mosaic, there was a void, a black hole of information. Some say the lead-up to the war in Iraq was the biggest media failure in America. Lies were reported as truths, and networks became mouthpieces for the administration. One thing is for sure, there was an absence of vital information on the American airwaves, and that's why Link TV created Mosaic almost 7 years ago. Innovative, original, and uncensored reports from the heart of the Middle East, untold stories with unheard voices that filled the information gap. Today, Mosaic is our most acclaimed program, written about, reviewed, and watched by millions. If you count on us, let us count on you. Call 1-866-485-8848. Just as we are viewer-motivated, we are viewer-supported. 88% of our budget comes from you. And right now, today, we need your help to get us through the end of the year. Call the number on your screen or log on to linktv.org and click on the big green support button. And you can count on Mosaic to keep on covering the war, even as it seems to disappear from most other newscasts. And this graph shows U.S. coverage of the war in Iraq has been in decline since January 2007. We think the Iraqis and the troops deserve more than that, don't you? Help us keep their stories alive by supporting Mosaic today. You can either call 1-866-485-8848 or go to our webpage at www.linktv.org and just click on the fundraising thermometer. Then you can make a donation in any amount that's right for you. As you know, Link TV is independent and non-commercial. We won't accept a commercial or government bailout. But editorial freedoms call for independent donations from viewers who know the importance of a free press. Call now and show us your support with a contribution. The number is on your screen, 1-866-485-8848, or log on to linktv.org. Be someone in the know. Be part of a vision without borders. Thank you. Shukran.
Get more news about the Middle East online at linktv.org/mosaic. The Mosaic webpage offers a complete archive of Mosaic programs, program transcripts, the Mosaic video podcast, and the Mosaic Intelligence Report, a weekly analysis of the hottest stories from the Middle East. The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible with the support of viewers like you. Thank you. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs. Programs which connect you to the world.